What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. All right, moving on to Cavs Celtics. So the Celtics just jump them right away. Cavs miss a couple of decent looks from three. The Celtics are just immediately on fire. I thought Tatum came out looking fantastic, hitting jump shots, spraying the ball out to shooters. They jump up 25-3. Doris Burke had an interesting comment on the broadcast talking about how the Cavs just didn't look like they believed they belonged on the same floor with the Celtics. Like they just had this energy in that first stretch of the game where they just didn't look like they believed they could win. And there was a really cool quote that the broadcast showed from Kenny Atkinson in the huddle saying, come on, guys, this is not us. Just believe in what you're doing, step in and knock some shots down, right? And that's what I thought turned it around. There were two things that I thought kind of just changed the tone and tenor of the game after that 25-3 start. First, dribble penetration from Darius Garland. He just started getting by people off the dribble and getting the defense into rotation to generate some quality shots. That just kind of started to pick up the pace for Cleveland in this game. And then a couple of shooters entered the game, a couple of guys that came in with confidence and knocked down some shots. DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome both stepped in and each knocked down 2 threes. Ty Jerome, who can be really aggressive as a pull-up shooter, hit 2 kind of contested threes and had a little bit of attitude about it. And it just loosened up the team. And you could tell that helped them believe that they could get back into the game, and they started to settle down and play Cavs basketball. They started to get stops, run out in transition, attacking the Celtics defense before it got set. I thought Darius Garland did a really nice job of getting up the ball up the floor quickly and quickly getting into a screening action to immediately draw 2 to the ball. And then he would drive off of it, draw a nail help, kick to the wing, and someone was wide open consistently. They started to get some really great looks, and it got them going on the offensive end of the floor. And then on defense, sticking to the game plan, not overreacting to Tatum and Brown when they were beating switches. This was, this is what I've always talked about in terms of what I believe is the best strategy to defend the Boston Celtics, and that's switch, contain, try to bait Jaylen and Jayson into pull-up jump shots and hope that they settle a bunch and that you can keep them out of rotation, keep them from getting the wide-open catch-and-shoot threes and the easy stuff at the rim that makes them unbeatable. And by the way, their defense was breaking early on. They were conceding the switches. Tatum was picking on everybody, a lot of Garland, but a ton against the bigs, a lot of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in space where Jayson Tatum was just going to work. And Jaylen Brown did most of his work against Darius Garland, did a ton of damage there, did some damage there in the fourth quarter. But I was really impressed by Jayson Tatum in his ISO possessions against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. He was just driving hard at Evan Mobley and just shucking him off with that right shoulder and getting easy looks. He's doing the same thing to Jared Allen, although he can't dislodge him as well, but he was showing a lot of impressive over-the-top short and mid-range shot making against Jared Allen. He was beating him off the dribble. There was a lot of good for the Celtics attacking Cleveland's game plan in the first half. But again, the goal there for Kenny Atkinson is to stay out of rotation as much as possible and limit Boston's catch-and-shoot looks. In order to do that, you have to not send too much help and count on those guys to just do the best they can and hope that they eventually wear down over the course of the game and that you start to get stops when you need them late. By the way, Boston averages 32 catch-and-shoot jump shot attempts per game, which is the second most in the entire NBA. They only generated 20 catch-and-shoot shot attempts in this particular game because they stayed out of rotation, because they allowed Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown to play one-on-one. And by the way, in the first half, Boston got 1.54 points per ISO, and they were getting cooked. But in the second half, just 1 point per ISO flat. That's much more tenable. And then down the stretch, Cleveland took a page right out of Boston's book and started doing hunting of their own as Donovan Mitchell just started relentlessly picking on Sam Hauser and was just consistently generating great stuff against him. He had 12 points and 2 assists in the fourth quarter. I thought he was incredible all night. As great as Jayson Tatum was, Donovan Mitchell was basically going step for step with him And there just aren't that many players in the league who can do that. Super impressive off the dribble shot making. The step back three was going. Really deadly floater tonight. He was getting into the lane and just like shooting that little easy 5 to 7 foot shot over the top. He was killing the Celtics with that. And then Evan Mobley, one of the concepts that I talk a lot about in this show is the idea of like, what it's like as a basketball player when you're playing poorly and how you react to that and how you stay engaged and understand that like nothing really matters. No one's going to remember any of it as long as you make a play that helps your team win and you get out of there with the win. Evan Mobley had a rough game through 3 quarters. He was picking up some fouls. He was badly missing some jump shots. He wasn't really accomplishing much as a scorer, but he was amazing in that 4th quarter. He hit 2 massive threes. He had 4 offensive rebounds, a couple of putbacks. He finished the 4th quarter with 11 points and 8 rebounds, had several of the biggest shots of the night. And I thought he was amazing. And now no one's going to look back at that game and think Evan Mobley played poorly because he found a way to make plays when his team needed to in the 4th quarter, and they got out of there with the win. Really impressive resilience by the whole team, but especially from Evan Mobley. Big picture with the Cavs, I thought this was an incredibly impressive win regardless of the surrounding context. To survive a 25-3 start, and another big Celtics run in the 3rd quarter where they go up by 17 to win on the road in that building against that team. I thought it was just remarkable mental toughness in belief. They were unwavering in their just like attack and just like eventually Boston will show some cracks and we're going to work our way back into this game. And they did. They completely turned around the vibes from the beginning of the game. And that's twice this year that they beat the Celtics in games that they looked like they lost control of. Again, if you remember the game in Cleveland that Cleveland won, Tatum was picking on Garland, doing a bunch of damage, short range shot making. Looked like the Celtics were going to get out of there with the win. Donovan Mitchell again, just a bunch of crazy shot making down the stretch as he helped pull that game out. But at the same time, I do think it's important to acknowledge that there was a dynamic at play in that 4th quarter that won't be in play if these two teams meet in the playoffs. The Cavs had an easy target to attack in crunch time in Sam Hauser. In a playoff series, that won't be Sam Hauser. That'll be Drew Holiday. That's the thing that's scary about this matchup in the big picture and what makes the Celtics such a dangerous team to deal with in a 2-week context. The Celtics will always have ways to attack you, especially if you're Cleveland, right? Like Darius Garland, Tatum and Brown both feel very comfortable in that matchup. Jayson Tatum, as he demonstrated tonight, looks very comfortable attacking Cleveland's bigs in switches. But the Cavs will not have those same high-quality options unless the Celtics enter that series with a bunch of injuries. And that's more or less where I'm at with this matchup at this point. If the Celtics are fully healthy, the Cavs can win, but I'm definitely going to pick the Celtics. But if the C's go into that series with a couple of injuries, say like 2 of their core 6 guys to where someone like a Hauser has to play or someone like a Pritchard has to play, then this series looks a lot more like a coin flip to me. And we'd be foolish to not consider that as a potential outcome when Kristaps Porzingis missed a bunch of time in the playoffs last year. So yeah, I think health is very important for the Celtics. And I think it's important that they continue to manage the injuries the way they have been with all their guys throughout the season, because it's so important that they get there with everyone available. On the Celtics front, I didn't love the idea of Jaylen Brown taking 9 shots in the 4th quarter with how well Jayson Tatum was playing. There were some good possessions there against Darius Garland, but there were some really tough shots mixed in there too. And again, like, as a team, you only managed 18 points in the 4th quarter. Very few of those catch and shoot type of attempts generated in the 4th quarter. That's where it becomes an issue. There was a brief stretch there in the middle of the 4th where Kenny Atkinson went small, took Mobley and Allen out of the game, and the Celtics immediately played some really good driving kick basketball. And that's the thing. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough against a team like Cleveland that can really load up on the ball with their size, right? But like, you can't just settle for jump shots. There has to be an attempt to get as much of that. There has to be an attempt to get as much of that rim pressure as possible. It looks kind of Kobe-esque at times with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown constantly taking really, really difficult off-the-dribble jump shots. The Celtics took 40 off the dribble jump shots in this game and only got 36 points out of them, 0.9 points per attempt. That's where the Jays have to be more deliberate about that same dynamic we talked about in the Lakers segment earlier in the show. Pressure the rim, force help, make it untenable, gotta generate those driving kick attempts. Catch and shoot threes, easy stuff at the rim. That's the championship Celtics. Off the dribble jump shot is a ceiling raiser. It's a rescue possessions at the end of the shot clock type of thing, but you can't live and die on that. 40 off the dribble jump shots is too many in one game. I'm not going to be too concerned about them on the defensive end in this game. It's just tough to contain the ball without Jrue Holiday, but they certainly can do better. The Cavs did cut them to pieces after that first quarter, but again, that's going to be the one thing that is going to look like a potential vulnerability for the Celtics this year in the postseason is if Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown don't bring the requisite level of downhill aggression against switches.